Howdy, welcome to Do Not Talk. I'm a native Californian. My name's Charlie Simons. Now, I grew up in an area that most of California doesn't claim. As a matter of fact, it's usually the butt of every joke, and that's Bakersfield. Bakersfield is basically they call it Nashville West. That's where Merle Haggard was born and raised, actually born in a town called Oildale, which is right on the outskirts of Bakersfield. I grew up in Fairfax, which is like that, just in an even smaller town on the outskirts of Bakersfield. My dad was born in Taft. My brother was born in Fellows. We got that horrible area of the state of California surrounded. Now, I bring this up to you, though, to say some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life come from there. I might not be one of them, but most people there are really cool, very friendly, very nice, and pretty hardcore conservative, which is another reason why California, for the most part, doesn't claim Bakersfield and hates it. Of course, you got a lot of LA people who've moved in now, and like everything that they touch, they ruin. But this was a great state. This was such a great state. When I was growing up in it, man, we were the Golden State. It's all gone upside down. And there's two reasons. One is very demonic, evil people running for office. And the other is a majority of Californians actually voting for those demonic, evil people. What happened to my fellow Californians? How did you get so stupid? So there's a lot of people now. It started with the state of Jefferson movement. We're going to split the state in half. You can have LA, you can have San Francisco, you can have Sacramento. We'll take the northern part of the state. You take the southern. Good luck. And they tried to get it happen, tried to make it happen, tried to get it on the ballot, tried to actually give us a little relief from the population base of LA, San Francisco, and Sacramento, which is polluted with the left. Didn't happen. Well, the man who was part of that from the beginning is Paul Preston. He went about doing more research, talking with attorneys, compiling some facts and figures of how do we do this constitutionally. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. I want a new California. You got New Mexico. You got New York. Why can't we have New California? New Cali. I like the end of that, the sound of that. New Cali. I'm all on board if it can work. It's kind of a hard sell because now instead of cutting the state in half, you got pockets that will be, this is California right here. You San Francisco Bay Area people, you're old California. You LA, all you people here, you're old California. You Sacramento, you're old California. The rest of us is going to be New California. That's a hard sell. How do you make that happen? Well, that's where Paul Preston comes in to explain it for the first time ever on Do Not Talk. I've got Paul Preston from New California on the show. But first, just a reminder, this is from Reason Magazine, which is a libertarian publication that probably leans a little more to the left than I do, at least. And they compiled this little video and presentation of where California was, where they're still trying to tell you it is, but the reality of where we are.
They say Californians are living the dream.
But things aren't all that glamorous.
Nope. We have our struggles.
It's no cakewalk.
No kidding. For well over a century, California was synonymous with the American dream of starting over and making it big. By the early 1960s, it had become the most populous state in the country. Now California's population is declining for the first time in recorded history. Like New York, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and West Virginia, California is losing a congressional seat, another first for the Golden State. The reasons behind California's decline aren't hard to fathom. According to Chief Executive Magazine, California is the worst state to do business in, a position it has held for most of the list's existence. California ranks 8th in combined state and local tax burden, forcing residents to kick in an effective rate of 11.5% of their income just for being alive. What did they get in return? Public schools that rank 37th in the country, insanely expensive housing, whose costs are inflated by strict environmental and land use regulations that make it nearly impossible to match supply with demand, rolling blackouts and power shortages caused by environmental mandates and poor utility governance, an above-average violent crime rate, and the nation's highest poverty rate, with more than 36% of California's residents at or near the poverty level. Governor Gavin Newsom faces a recall election in the fall, partly due to his hypocrisy regarding his own stringent lockdown rules. Rather than grapple with his state's sinking status, he's chosen instead to deny reality.
This remarkable home to more dreamers and doers than any other part of the globe.
A smarter strategy might be to look at the two biggest states that are gaining in population at California's expense. Between 2010 and 2020, Florida's population grew by 14.6% and Texas's increased by 15.9%. Their weather is awful by California standards and they lack its natural beauty, but they rank second and first in business climate, which means more opportunity even as their cost of living is a fraction of California's. Until and unless the Golden State makes itself affordable to dreamers and doers, they'll keep heading to other destinations. As California loses a congressional seat, Texas is picking up 2, and demographers predict that it may become the most populous state by 2045, much sooner than was predicted just a few years ago. Texas may not have the beaches, the forests, the celebrities, or the glamour. It'll just have the jobs, the companies, the forward momentum, and the people.
Was anything wrong in that? Was there anything in that video that's like, yeah, no, Charlie, that's over the top. That's not right. No, it was all absolutely true. It's scary as hell. If we could have a new California where you let these nutbags go ahead and have their little Star Trek utopia, which is basically communism. That's what they want, is communism. You go ahead and you keep your state of California. We're going to be over here actually creating things, building things, making things happen, actually supporting family, God, family, country, in that order. And we'll call ourselves New California. Can it happen? Do you think it could actually happen? Paul Preston says yes, and he's next on Do Not Talk. Hit it.
Yep, here he comes. Riding his trusted steed through the Sierra foothills as he brings you the news. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! He calls himself
Charlie!
What you doing, Charlie?
Sorry, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. There you are. Look how cute you are. Yeah.
Hey, Charlie. What's with the dark glasses?
And now, here he is, a man of God, living in a world of Disney.
Ow, Charlie!
Charlie Simons.
Charlie bit me.
Charlie Simons here with Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about: religion and politics. And I'm here with a man who was at the forefront of the fight to save this state. I'm a native Californian. How about you?
Well, yeah, I was actually born in Pennsylvania, and just a couple months later, we moved out to California. So I've been out here all my life, except for 2 months.
It's one of those places that everybody wants to come to. But now I've seen such a shift and such a change and such a dramatic bit of tyrannical rule from the people that we are electing and putting in these positions of power, that has become so overwhelming that I've had a lot of friends move. They've left. And I'm a little bit more stubborn than that.
Yeah, well, so am I. I'm not going to leave. And we have a motto in the New California State Movement that we developed in July of 2018 called Stand Your Ground. It's a Marine Corps thing. My dad was a Marine. My father-in-law was a Marine. And they said, when time gets tough, stand your ground. And that's what we're doing here. Times are tough and people want us to leave, but, for all the wrong reasons. They want to take over our country. They want to take over certainly California. And we're saying, no, this is our state. And we're going to create a new state actually to double stop it. So we'll have an additional state to stand in their way and prevent them from taking us over. And that's exactly what they're trying to do, is take us over as a country.
Well, is there any time in the history of the United States of America that a state has split like that?
Yeah.
He says, knowing the answer.
Yeah. Of course, there's been a lot of state splits. There's actually been doing the state split that we've done. There's been 4 of them. We'd actually be the 5th one, technically. But, if you talk to West Virginia, they were the first one, but they were the 3rd one, really. Everybody's got their argument as to what number they're in. We would technically be the 5th one to do this. And, of course, the idea of statehood, it's happened 50 times already, either by bills or by territory or by state splits. It means that you can have a state split. It's okay. And it has been done many, many times. And it's part of our growing history as in America, that we should be growing every few years to create a new state. We get stronger in that process.
We are just your absolutely stereotypical example of a state where it has huge, densely populated areas that are being overly represented by the state government, and that's by design. And so the rest of the state is kind of like beholden to what the relatively few, when you're looking at size, but the population is so much more dense. How do we fight against that? What's the representation right now in the state of California?
The state of California is divided up in 2 population groups. One, it's about 40 million people. You've heard that before. It's actually less than that right now, but around 40 million. And 20 million live in the highly urbanized areas of Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Sacramento. The rest of it, 20 million, live in the rural areas of California, which is about 90% of the land mass. And the representation, though, goes, unfortunately, with the densely populated areas. That's constitutionally as it's not supposed to be, but it was a decision that was made in Reynolds versus Sims in 1964 that got rid of senators as representing their counties, and it would represent populations based upon a district that they would design. And of course, that's lent itself to the highly densely populated areas having more representation by senators than by.
Give me an example.
Well, Los Angeles. I'll give you an example.
I mean, how many senators are there?
There's only 40 senators in California, okay. and that was by the original design, the original Constitution of California. They started setting up districts because they weren't really too sure about the county line situation, and then every group has 40, and they should have. But California remained an outlier after 1879 when they changed and modified the Constitution. So they stuck with the 40. And then, of course, they started growing more counties. And then the last county that I think was the last one to grow was Orange County. Grew away from Los Angeles in the 1950s. But, under ideal circumstances, as the Constitution would have it, every county should have been assigned one. It never was. So they went to court in 1964 with the idea that there was lack of representation. The people weren't getting the proper representation in the state level, so that was the theory. And so they decided, well, counties should not be represented by a senator. The senator should be representing populations. Very similar to what the House, the Assembly does, or a House of Representatives does. It represents people by population. And so basically what you have now is a unicameral situation whereas before with senators, they were representing these counties and all the things that go on in the county, all the businesses and things that a county is involved in, resources, legal situations, education, all that is represented by a senator. And that went away in 1964 when the court decided that senators in states should represent people. And of course, ever since then, the lack of representation for the rural areas in particular is unbalanced. They don't have the same representation. They are not standing on the same footage as a population base, let's say, out of Los Angeles County. So you have Lake County as an example, where you have this county, El Dorado or Placer County, which is very rural. then they're underrepresented because they don't really have a given senator representing each one of the counties.
And out of the 40 senators, and these are the ones who go to Washington, these are the ones who represent us on a national
These are the state senators.
State senators, okay.
We only have 2 senators. Every state has 2 senators.
Right.
And that was so that the senators could form a Senate. See, this discussion happened in the 1787 to 89 Constitutional Convention because they wanted 3 branches of government, which they set up, and they set up a legislature, executive, and judiciary. And then they had a House of Representatives in the legislature. And so they figured, well, that's really cool. These people will represent the interests of their states because of the people, the population. And so then finally, I think it was Vermont or maybe it was South Carolina, said, our population is different than New York. And New York will automatically get, let's say, 50 members of the House of Representatives, and we'll only get 2. So when we go to vote on something and New York doesn't like what we want, we'll never get anything we want. So they said there has to be parity. Benjamin Franklin actually brought this up, that there's got to be some way to get parity and control over the urges of the masses, basically, because else the masses and the people who would have the most votes, a dictatorship would exist. So they said, well, let's try the states and look at the states. So they decided that states would have rights. And that they decided that there would be the 2 senators for each state, regardless of population. And that would balance out the problem on the House of Representatives side. And what that would mean is that a state could have equal power in a Senate as the members of the House of Representation. And so the Senate is equal powered. That's why you saw, as an example, during the impeachment, Nancy Pelosi was representing the people. The Senate by Mitch McConnell was representing all the states. And the senators, Mitch McConnell, just wouldn't listen to everything that Nancy Pelosi was bringing his way. He said, no, I'm not going to do these things you want, because he could, because he had the same power as her. And she wanted to usurp his power. We could all see that happening right there. But he said no to that.
That and getting the approval, the judges approved, were 2 great things that Mitch McConnell did.
Right.
Other than that, though, it's been
downhill.
Pretty hit and miss, hasn't it?
Yeah, but he made a commitment. I was following Mitch McConnell back in, I think he took the office again back in 1994 after the years of Obama. And because that was when Obama was running roughshod over the Senate. And so Mitch McConnell took back, I think it was in 1994, the Senate. And he said at the time that we're going to restore a deliberative body back to the Senate. We're not going to hurry up and pass things on the urges of the House or the president. And he stood his ground then. So there's been 3 things that he did.
Yeah.
But now let's don't talk about the other things, because that'll get me going.
Right.
The California state legislature really has devolved itself into a dictatorship or a democracy.
Right.
As we know.
As you threw out a number, I got to hear Paul speak today, and he was very gracious to give me this interview after he's already, spent an hour talking to a crowd, a room full of people. So thank you for that. But you threw out a statistic about these 40 senators and how many of them actually represent these big, heavily populated areas, right, comparatively speaking to the rest of us.
Well, when they took the Senate, or they took the county sovereign areas away from the senators, they put them into districts based upon population. So as an example, if you take a look at the map of New California behind us and you look at all the red area, Brian Dowley, who's in Senate District number 1, he represents 11 counties, and he tips all the way down into the Bay Area to make up his population base, so he gets a piece of that, but he represents 11 counties. It's impossible for one senator to represent 11 counties, because look at the jurisdictional things they have to represent. Mm-hmm. He represents 11 district attorneys now. He represents 11 county boards now, and some of those are divided up with other senators. That's the thing. Some of these counties have been divided up. So it's really hard to get any kind of a representation at that level into the state representatives.
They have been railroading the Republican Party very effectively. They have a supermajority now. You have pigs like Senator Scott Wiener from San Francisco. He's going to be a senator for life because he's going to be another Nancy Pelosi, another Dianne Feinstein,
That's right.
because he's got a population base that's going to continue to put a swine like that back into that tremendous position of power.
But
because they have a supermajority, we got no chance here.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that when New California is formed, we're going to challenge Reynolds versus Sims. Now, right now, when we created the state, we automatically assigned a senator to each county. So all 56 counties in New California has a senator right now. And that was our appointment. We can do that. And when you start to model and make the state. And we also appointed members of our assembly to each one of the counties. So the counties are being represented right now in New California, where they're not in Old California. All of our business is shaped around that now in their legislature, which is the way it should be. This is a Republican form of government, and California does not offer a Republican form of government anymore. That's one of the first things that the Constitution of the United States says a state has to do. And so does the United States have to offer this as a Republican form of government, freedom from invasion and freedom from domestic violence. And right now, none of that's being protected against us in California. They're not providing that at all. None of them.
As a matter of fact, Canada seems to be at this point the proving ground. You know, for example, there's a gun grab going on there that the media is ignoring right now that is heart-wrenching. Gun grab going on in Canada, and that's coming here, isn't it?
Yeah, they're intending.
If it works there, it's going to come here,
right? And but it's going to be a little bit of a struggle for them because you have judges really that are like the judge down in San Diego, Benitez. He is really a Clinton appointee. He's really taken a hard line against the governor and against any new gun laws, which is a relief for California. But in New California, the gun laws that are applied in California won't apply to us because we're going to be a constitutional carry state. So it's just kind of, if you want to buy a gun in the morning and take it home that afternoon or that day, you can. You know, it's real simple. We're just going to ask for the federal check. That's it. Some of those checks can be done in 15, 20 minutes.
How much?
Walk out of the store with a gun.
Which is how it isn't. I lived in Tennessee for a year.
Used to be that way in California, actually. Yeah.
Back in the
late
1800s?
No, I remember going in and getting a gun when I was a young boy with my brother. I got a 22.
The NRA has taken a hardline stance since I've been aware of them, going back to my high school days. But I grew up Bakersfield, and I was shooting when I was like 11. But there's a real obvious effort to disarm the population, and as California goes, so goes the rest of the nation. So that is coming here, and it is going to happen as long as they have the supermajority. Here's why I bring all this up, though. It's so overwhelming at this point, Paul Preston from New California. It is so overwhelming at this point. I don't see a light at the end of California's tunnel. And I am now shifting my thinking that maybe I need to get out too, because I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. We got millions who have streamed across the border, and we're a sanctuary state. And they're already voting now because of the motor voter law that Jerry Brown passed.
Right. There's no moderation. There's no checking of identities or anything like that. But see, that's the whole idea, is that when we first started all this, that everybody was moving. And of course, the state at the time was in denial that anybody was moving. They wanted to keep it on. That was always a big clue to me, but I knew that people were moving. And so I knew that there's something nefarious going on there. But and this state was being nefarious, very much so. Then, of course, businesses and big businesses like Boeing started to leave. And of course, that was from the overregulation. So rather than to take the attitude that we can modify or change or make better the current constitutional state, we looked at what the Constitution provided, and we found it in Article 4, Section 3 of the Constitution, where if you want to form a state from a pre-existing state, then you have to get the permission of that state and then move on to Congress. And I thought to myself, that's kind of an odd one, because if you're really happy with your state, why would you want to make a new state, And then I realized that's just some clever wordsmithing by the founding fathers. And so I said, nobody's trying to make a new state out of Florida. No.
Because they have representative government.
That's right. They have a Republican form of government. Yeah. And so it was really meant for these moments. And so that's when I said to myself, well, let's do this, and I started getting involved in the Jefferson movement and some other movements. But I knew, being in education, I saw the trend towards totalitarianism back in the 90s.
This is the only out, as far as I see it. To everybody who says, I can't leave because I have family obligations or whatever, fill in the blank. We all have our reasons why we want to stay in California. A lot of it is because we're born and raised here and we love it. But it could be so much as we're staying here because myself, I have an elderly mom. There is no one else to help her.
Right.
That's part of my every week or
and
2 weeks.
She likes California, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. And so I can't leave as long as, she's still kicking it. I'm here. That's my obligation. So if I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel for the state of California at this point, where I see that there has been a supermajority that has, in many villainous ways, illegally taken over control of and squelched any kind of representative form of government, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. This is it.
Right.
If I want to stay here because I love the weather, whatever, this is it. It's New California.
We are the only thing that will save this state and this nation. And I mean that in all sincerity, especially now with more recent events, and people are starting to realize that we offer a constitutional form of government that's what the founding fathers wanted. We do now have a Republican form of government, and we will guarantee the freedom of invasion. We won't be tolerating any of this stuff. We won't be inviting them in by inducements through the California DMV and voting and all this other stuff, or payments, for welfare. We just won't be doing that. And the proof is in the pudding with us, and that we've declared ourselves independent, just like the Constitution wants us to do. We laid down 190 grievances or complaints against the state of California. Every Tuesday, we read on the Superior Court buildings of the state, of the capital or the county superior courts. And then we've had 12 constitutional conventions. We've been building the Constitution on the conventions, and we've sent representatives to the Congress, and we delivered our paperwork for statehood. And we're going to continue to follow up. I know there's chaos right now in the House, but we'll continue to send out representatives. We're looking at sending at least 10 when everything is fully done. And we're designated them as delegate representatives to the House of Representatives from New California.
Just because we're legally able to do all of these things doesn't mean they're going to recognize any of it. And the media, of course, is going to shut it down or ignore it completely. I
think that what will happen, the financial things and the collapse of California financially and the rest of the nation is going to weigh heavily on everybody's minds. And because we will have a clean constitution, a clean credit score, because right now California has failed in the last 3 years to give the auditable financials to the federal government and to us. We haven't seen those. It's why are they hiding their auditable financials? We're the only state in the union that's done that. There's so many other things as the reason why, the education system is collapsing on itself, the immigration, everything that's been going wrong with California, which has been by design, I believe, is leading them into us and the people into us. And we're starting to see it. People are now awakened, and they're going, oh my God, there's got to be some out. They want to stay. They're getting desperate. And many of them are now coming back to us and going, we heard about you, and we're swelling with people joining right now. And that's going to be a trend that's going to continue probably indefinitely until we become a state. And then it'll really take off because people will want the lower taxes. They'll want the water. We have communities in California right now that don't have any running water. And that's by design. I'm sorry, the DWR and the state government is punishing these people.
The I-5 corridor, where the lifelong, multi-generational farmers along there who had blazed that trail long before there was an Interstate 5, raising cattle, raising crops, and getting water. And there's a whole delta and irrigation system that goes through there, dried up all over a fish that's not even native to the delta. The delta smelt and dried up this water to preserve a frickin' fish that nobody even knows what it does and why it's there. How it got there, by the way, not native. Again, I really think that has been a land grab on the part of the government and Chinese government in particular.
The globalists want California. This is the prize. It's got everything on this part of the planet and all the planet everything you can imagine, from gold to water to the ability to grow crops and so on. And you mentioned the Central Valley and San Joaquin Valley and Sacramento County. The way we do farming and ranching in California is California style. It's unique, and it's taken an evolution that from all the people who came out during the Dust Bowl. Wanted to settle, and they stood their ground. They
learned their lesson about how to protect topsoil.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And they know how to do. I'm telling you, I'm so proud of the farmers and the great work that they do. You fly over and you see all these different patches of farmland, and you realize most of those patches are owned by individual farming families, and they've been here since the 1930s. They settled, they stood their ground, and especially when you get down in towards Bakersfield and how precious water is down there, which, by the way, they've been starved out of water. They have the Friant reconveyance, but much of that reconveyance system is really needs a lot of work. Donald Trump came in and gave them some money for it, and nobody's helped them out with the state, of course. But we intend to come in and build 6 more dams. The dams are already approved. They've been around for a long time as approved. And we're going to build the reservoirs, and then we're going to build hydroelectric around that.
This is all huge. Logistically,
Right.
This is a nightmare. Think about law enforcement.
That's another thing. We are partnering with law enforcement and military.
We're going to have a new California military department?
Well, there'll be a National Guard, and there'll be a state militia and then things like that. We're taking a long look at what we're doing with the sheriffs. We're very happy with the sheriffs that we've worked with already. We've worked with numerous sheriffs, constitutional sheriffs in California, who realize that they are constitutional sheriffs, which is another thing.
May I? See, I had this discussion with more than one sheriff when I was actually on the radio originally. First time I had you on my show. And I asked outright, sheriff in a very contentious race at the time, I won't say in which county, are you a constitutional sheriff? Because I believe in the CSPOA, the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association of America. I believe that is right, and they've got a very valid point, that we need to wake up to the power given to the sheriff of a county by the U.S. Constitution. And sheriffs often don't even know. They don't train that in law enforcement. So that was what the CSPOA's big push. But he said, when I asked him this question on the air, oh, yes, I'm constitutional sheriff. And I go, which constitution?
Yeah.
The state constitution.
And that's
a big
wrong.
difference.
But that's wrong. He's sworn an oath to office to the federal constitution.
Right.
And that's wrong.
Protect and serve.
And listen, I've talked to numerous sheriffs up and down the state. I've traveled to all 58 counties. I've spoken in all 58 counties. And I've talked to a good majority of them. And I would say it's 50-50 on those who understand that. And I've enlightened them and said, no, you swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, and you are a constitutional sheriff. The other enhancement, which the California state constitution does say, is that if you are an elected sheriff by your county, you are, quote, in California considered to be a constitutional sheriff. I think it's the only constitution in the nation that actually says that.
Well, then how come they say that they answer?
Here's part of the problem with the California Constitution. If you go back and look at the original one, there's a compact, and we entered the state with, and the nation with. They talk about the sheriff in terms of what we would traditionally know, but in 1879 they revamped all that, and they made the sheriff answerable to the Attorney General.
Right, there it is.
That's not it. That's not it.
And
that's
they say that the AG is their commander-in-chief.
They always say that. And I have to back them up. And I say, no. Well, who'd you swear an oath to office to first? The Constitution. I said, that's your oath of office. I said, the Constitution in California is unconstitutional because you answer to the Constitution first, and you're sovereign. It's sovereign if you're elected by the people. You're not. Your powers dissipate if you're not elected by the people in your county. You're not a sovereign. And that's one of the reasons why George Soros and all these other people are trying to buy out the duly elected sheriff's contracts, not contracts, but their election.
What?
They'll come in and offer the board. We will give the sheriff, if he wants to retire early, an elected sheriff, we'll give him, say, $100,000 bonus. And so they give him a $100,000 bonus, and the sheriff takes off. Well, at least, like, say, 2 more years left. There should be an election.
It's now the Board of Supervisors has that power to appoint.
Now, and of
so
course,
you have a new sheriff that they are friendly to,
You got it.
Without an election.
That you got it. And it's really easy for the cartels to come in and sway those county supervisors or force them into things, and they put pressure on the unelected sheriff. He's unelected. See, the elected sheriff is somebody who's answerable only to the citizens, not to the Board of Supervisors. Right. And that's not that boss. The boss is the people, not the Board of Supervisors.
We saw that happen in Placer County, didn't we?
Yes. Well, you've seen it in many counties, and we pointed it out in every county that's happened. And we've told the constitutional sheriffs, we told the unconstitutional sheriffs. In fact, we supported a couple of them. Well, our people did. We can't support a candidate, but we were telling people that the avenue for this sheriff is to be elected. And if he wants to be elected, he should be. But, if he doesn't want to be elected, he wants to continue on with that, then you're going to have an unconstitutional sheriff. You have no authority over a jurisdiction as we, the people, would. They're answerable to the people who hire them, and that's the Board of Supervisors. Now, a Board of Supervisor does not represent the entire county. He's only got a segment of the county. Right. And so their impact its powers dissipate. So it would be a challenge for him to say that, yes, I'm the sheriff of this county, but if the federal government comes in and says you're not a sovereign, he's going to have to back down. See, like DeAugustini here, he didn't back down from the feds.
El Dorado County, the sheriff who just retired last year.
He didn't back down from the feds, and he said, no, I am elected. Every person in this county wants me to do this. You're out of here. Yeah. And so
Jeff Lykoff, I think, has been doing a really good job.
He's followed in his footsteps, and he's done a very, very good job. Yeah. And he's going to continue to do a good job. And there's other sheriffs now who get this. And I'm not going to mention any of them, but it's pretty empowering to see them be empowered.
It is exciting.
And we just explained it to them the way I just explained it.
Very exciting.
And you're not empowered. You have to be empowered by the people. The people are the ones that are your boss, and you have to be answerable to them. And once they understand that the Constitution of California is no good. It doesn't apply to them in that regard. And so they ignore it. I mean, that's really what's going to happen, is they're ignoring bad constitutionality. And by the way, the Constitution of 1879, which is what they're adhering to, is not the definitive Constitution of California. That's the one that was the original compact that was formed with the federal government and the state, that there will always be in perpetuity a state within the United States. That goes on forever, regardless of what California wants to do. California adopted, which is unconstitutional, adopted this Constitution in 1879, which they've changed over 900 times since then to now. And that's why we have a democracy here. We don't have a republic. And the first priority in the Constitution is that the federal government has to provide for a Republican form of government. And we don't have that. That's why it's a mess. And that's why we step in as New Cal. We, the people, have the authority by way of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution to do this. So we're just doing what we should be doing as citizens.
After hearing you speak for an hour, I had like a whole bevy of questions and things I wanted. Yeah. I was like, I just want to ask him these things so he'll say it all over again, because it was so fascinating and very powerful. We've covered none of that. So I want to have you on again.
Sure.
But
sure.
Real quick, we're going to let you know how to get a hold of New California, how to get involved, how to find out more. But I do have one question for you. I don't know if you can see the map from here, but instead of how it used to be State of Jefferson, which literally cut the state in half. And I thought, that's an easy sell. People will get that.
Right.
Understand that. It's not like that. You have what Paul affectionately and lovingly calls pus pockets that are real left-leaning.
That was my chief of staff.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was you. Okay, all right.
I just laughed at it.
And they're going to be isolated. So you're going to have like Bay Area. You're still California. You're going to have Sacramento area. You're still California. Los Angeles, you're California. The rest of us are New California. That's a hard sell. I mean, you're now leaving the state of California. You're now entering the new state, New California.
Well, if you want to ease your mind on that, there's always Southwest Airlines to keep you in touch with people in California.
Okay.
And it's not unusual for states to be non-contiguous like this, because you have several already. Look at Hawaii, you have water. Look at Michigan, you have water and land. And of course,
I pray this happens.
Minnesota.
I pray this happens.
Well, no. You understand? It is happening.
Good.
Right now.
Okay.
It's happening before your very eyes.
Okay, good.
We would not be in Congress right now if it hasn't been happening.
Yeah.
And so the proof is that we do have paperwork in Congress. Now, whether or not they're going to take things up, what are they taking up right now anyway? This is like crazy land, but we're here now and we're ready to go. We have our legislature's up and running, and they're doing a fine job.
And we have a majority, barely.
Well,
I mean, we can't even get Jim Jordan as Speaker of the House, but all right.
Well, and that's questionable what's going on there. That's the big thing. But as far as New California's legislature, they're up and running and functional as a Republican form of government, even though we haven't had an election, but on an appointed basis. This is what you do when you form a new state, is you run on appointments like this, and then you step off and do the elections later on, which we will do an election, but not with this current election system. It's not constitutional what they're doing with this election system.
Paper ballots. How about
Paper
that?
ballots.
Actually showing an ID to get your ballot. How about that?
Yep, that would be it. That would be it.
Son of a gun. The best thing you can do is not just go, hey, that sounds good. I sure hope it happens. Let me know. That's the worst thing you could do. But the best thing you can do is actually get educated about it. Where do we find you?
Well, you can go to newcaliforniastate.com, and there's a whole wide range of things you can check into on the face of the website there. Best thing to do is to hit the button that says join now and join up, and we'll get in touch with you. Put your county information in. We'll put you in touch with your county representative. We're really having a big push now because it's time that the foot soldiers of California and New California really step up. It's not a campaign. It's not a political campaign. It kind of feels like it, but we're about making a new state. So it's a whole different operation, a whole different set of features about it. But we still have to do the things about informing people, getting involved with the communities, and things like that, like you would with somewhat of a political campaign. But this is more in depth. Our people stay involved and engaged. We have people running for office now in some places. And we didn't put them up to that, but they just felt compelled to do that. And they think like and they're going to support New California when they're there. They've told us already. That's one of the reasons they're running, because they want to be prepared and in those seats when New California is formed. And I can't stop them. No, don't do that. That's against the rules. The rules are pretty wide open on all these things. And we've been very fortunate that we've been we found the right combination of what the founding fathers designed. And it's been done before. This has been done before. It's been done before.
We'd be the fifth.
That's right.
And it would be state number 51.
That's right.
We're going to have to add a star to the flag. I want to have you on again. And I'm a delegate with the California GOP.
Well, congratulations.
Really?
How's that working out for you?
Is that a congratulations? Oh, okay.
That's somewhat sarcastic, but how's it working out for you?
I've been to 2 of their conventions now, in Sacramento and the other one down in Anaheim. And I am telling everyone, stop giving your money to the California GOP.
Right.
Period. Stop giving your money to the national GOP, as a matter of fact. Don't. Give your counties, yes, your county central committees, individual candidates. Stop, though, giving your money to that state GOP, because they are a train wreck. They're in very bad shape, and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel there either. So there's so many, and the reason why I bring this up, I've made great friends, people I admire and respect, and I've had on the show. Rebuild California, Save California. They all have similar names. And they're all about, we can take the state of California back. I don't see how at this point.
You cannot put new wine
into old wine skins. Right. Jesus said.
They're offering the same old with the same old people. How's that going to change California? It's not. They're not going to change a thing. And they're taking in vast quantities of money. They're making promises that they cannot fulfill. And the only way that they can really do this is to do this with New California. And we're more than happy to work with them. There is going to be California that still has to be dealt with, and the things that they have to do to adjust their constitution. Yeah. And we're happy to work with everybody on that.
I was wearing my pin, by the way, at the California GOP convention.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah, heck yeah. Guess how many people talked about it and acknowledged it?
Yeah. Well,
Zero.
I know.
They don't even want to look down. Don't look down. He's wearing a pin. Don't look down.
I bet they were. But people, the problem is you'd be surprised who talks to us from the Cal GOP. You'd be really surprised.
Good. That's encouraging.
Well, it's encouraging from the standpoint that the Cal GOP is going to be missing out on those people's participation. But
that at some point in time, that's going to be the people of California going to have to reconcile with the GOP and what they've been up to. And I think that time is coming pretty soon. I think the whole dynamic of everything politically in the United States is really going to be challenged right now. But there's one thing that we know: we're moving on down the highway. We're not stopping. Our ship is sailing, and we're moving on just fine.
You have a podcast, and I'm really stupid about promoting other people's podcasts instead of my own. But it's Agenda 21, right?
Agenda 21 Radio on Red State Talk Radio, and also
Red State Talk
Red
Radio.
State Talk Radio. Okay. It emanates out of Washington, D.C. We have studios in Northern California, and we get up every morning at 6 o'clock, actually 3 a.m. to do the prep work. We also broadcast on Rumble, and we also broadcast on Cloud Hub, Facebook, and I guess it's X now, right? Twitter,
yeah.
Twitter channels, and it's quite challenging, but we get her done in 3
And we
hours.
look for Agenda 21 Radio.
Agenda21radio.news or a21r.com if you want to go the simple way. But if you just type in Red State Talk Radio, you can listen to us at 6 a.m. in the morning and go from there.
Pacific time.
Pacific time, yeah. Pacific.
Yeah. California time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul Preston.
Thank you, sir.
You're an admirable gentleman and such a scholar on so many levels. Thank you for schooling me about how our own state government works. I'm thinking that all the senators go to Washington, D.C. and all the. I am a product of Bakersfield Unified. I'm amazed at how.
Bakersfield High School, the Oilers, is that what they are?
No, the Rebels.
The Rebels, that's right.
South Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Not Rebels anymore, though, because that's well.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Rebels, right.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much.
You,
More
sir.
power. I hope you got encouraged there. I hope you heard something that was like, hey, this could happen. And you get involved. Always get involved. Always ask questions. We need you. More than ever before, we need you. We need good people, the kind of people who are going to watch this show and support this show. Need you more than ever. Thank you for supporting this show. Liking, subscribing, sharing, subscribe to wherever you're watching or listening to this helps us grow that way. We need to increase our numbers, our subscribers, and it doesn't cost you anything. And you're not going to be peppered with a whole bunch of spam. It just gives an indication of who's on board, and it notifies you whenever we have a new show come out. That's what you get when you subscribe. You can give too. You can help this ministry. All you need to know is down below in the show notes. Open those up, and my producer, Kirk Deshawn, Forefront Aerial Productions, has everything right there. The Give, Send, Go, the locals.com, everything that you can do to watch, help, get involved, and share. Share this show. I'm Charlie Simons. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America, but most importantly, may America bless God.